Today, we're going to dive into a pretty incredible transformation. It's a story about taking something that's basically just industrial scrap, destined for the junk pile, and turning it into a gorgeous, totally functional home.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Can you take something like this, a beat-up, degraded metal box, the kind of thing that's served its purpose and is basically just waiting to be forgotten in some yard?
And can you actually turn that into a beautiful, high-quality home? Well, according to this amazing project from the Broken to Beautiful Builds YouTube channel, the answer is a big, loud yes. So let's get into exactly how they pulled this off.
All right, so where does a project like this even begin? Well, every great piece of art needs a canvas. And in this case, the canvas was, well, let's just say it was far from perfect.
And this is the key part. We're not talking about some shiny new container. No, this was a degraded one. Literally, it was industrial waste that was salvaged. And its new home, a quiet, wooded spot, which is a pretty cool, almost poetic backdrop for giving this thing a second chance at life.
Okay, so you've got your container. But turning a metal box into a place someone can actually live isn't just about making it look good. The builders had one massive, fundamental problem they had to solve, and it could have been a total deal breaker.
And here it is. The #1 challenge wasn't the rust or the dings. It was just pure physics. A metal shell is basically a conductor. Think about touching a dark car on a hot, sunny day. Now imagine living inside that car. It becomes an oven. And in the winter, a walk-in freezer. So making it livable meant they had to figure out how to tame the very nature of the material itself. And this is where the genius of the build really comes in. On the left, you've got the problem, that metal box that just soaks up the heat and cold. But on the right, you have the elegant solution, really smart insulation. And this isn't just about stuffing some material on the walls. It's about creating what's called a thermal break. It's this continuous barrier that separates the outside metal from the inside walls. It literally stops the heat or the cold in its tracks, which means you can have a comfortable, stable climate inside all year round. So, once they figured out how to solve that massive temperature problem, the real fun could begin. This is where we get to see the metamorphosis, the change from an industrial shell into an actual modern shelter.
The process was super methodical. First, you got to salvage and prep the thing, clean it up for its new life. Next, and this is the most critical part we just talked about, came the framing and that all-important insulation to create the thermal break. Then, it starts to actually look like a home when they cut openings for windows and doors and run all the utilities. And finally, you get to the finishing touches that really bring the whole vision to life, inside and out.
So after all that hard work, all the planning, the problem solving, the actual construction, what was the final result? What did this piece of industrial waste ultimately become? It's just incredible. The payoff is this absolutely stunning conversion that doesn't try to hide what it once was, but instead completely reimagines it. It's a bright, modern, and genuinely beautiful place to live.
And the way the source material describes the finished home is just perfect. It's not just some shed. It's a high-quality, modern, minimalist dwelling. And every one of those words really matters. High quality in how it's built, modern in its design, and minimalist in its look and feel, focusing on what's simple and what's functional.
So this is a super cool build, right? But why does it matter beyond just being a neat project? Because this little home makes a really big statement about the future of how we can, and maybe how we should, be building things.
This project really is sustainable architecture in a nutshell. It's all about designing and building things in a way that minimizes our impact on the planet. And this build does it perfectly by using materials efficiently. They turned waste into a home, and by using space efficiently, creating a completely functional place in a really small footprint.
So, when you boil it all down, what are the big ideas we can take away from this? Well, first, it proves that stuff we call waste can actually be an incredibly valuable resource. It also shows that the toughest challenges can be solved with creative design. And it reminds us that being sustainable is all about repurposing. And maybe most importantly, it proves that even a small home can have a huge impact on how we think about architecture.
And that really leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? This project proved that an old shipping container can become a beautiful home. So it just makes you wonder, what other so-called waste is just sitting out there all around us, waiting for someone with the right vision to turn it into the building blocks of tomorrow?